Welcome to Miles Morales Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. I have a few complaints about the game. Number one, is it a full $60 game? No, I do not think it is a full $60 game. I feel like it should have been maybe a $20 or $30 DLC. The reason why is just simply because it feels like a copy paste, but then they altered the main character. Changing up the main character with a quite shortened storyline, I don't believe that it's worth the full $60 that they say it was worth. The music is a positive, but let's dive right into the negatives. The game kind of starts you off with some of these tutorials where it's like, okay, learn how to fight as Peter Parker. Or learn how to fight as Miles Morales. Oh, okay, I'll learn how to fight as Miles Morales. But a lot of the combat in the game is very similar to the combat that was in the original PlayStation 4 Peter Parker. The Peter Parker, not Miles Morales, the OG Spider-Man, I should say. And the other main difference is that it almost feels like Miles Morales doesn't really know what the hell he's doing, because it's so incredible that the main storyline, the main bad guy, which I'm not going to ruin it for you, doesn't find out who you are until like later on in the game when you finally tell the main bad guy who you are. And it was almost kind of like, how in the hell does that happen? Because and this comes up here. One of the first things that you do as Miles Morales is your buddy Genki develops an app for you where people can text in and be like, hey, I got a problem. And one of the very first people that asks for your help is Aaron Davis, your uncle, and he gives you a pass, and you don't even try to hide your voice from him. I mean, it's insane because you don't change it, and your uncle figures out who you are, and it's just really weird to me. The other thing is that this is the positive but a negative. The loading screens were so short and so quick that I didn't get a chance to see the full loading screens, and I only saw two of them, which was weird. But this is your main bad guy right here. And you're introduced to them really quick, really fast, and you learn a little bit of backstory, and it doesn't feel like, again, the game's length doesn't feel like it's a complete actual game. The amount of suits that you get, I mean, I wonder if it's just because Miles Morales hasn't been out long enough to have enough suits, but the suits just didn't feel cool enough to be, like how Peter Parker has a bunch of different suits out there, and maybe it's because he's been in the run long enough, but just some of the suits didn't feel complete. Like the one suit that comes from, it's basically your black suit, but with a Letterman jacket, on it. It just didn't feel cool. I mean, I think I liked actually 2 or 3 out of the actual suits themselves. The things that were more interesting, and I'll get into the positives. I know I've been on the game here for the last 3 minutes. Gloria makes a comeback. I mean, if you kind of paid at least any little bit of attention, you follow Gloria from the original game all the way through to now that she's working a job and volunteering at Feast. She's got a girlfriend. She's back in her life. The suit that you earn for helping out Harlem is dope. It is amazing. The one thing that is a drawback about this little piece right here is it took me out of the game. That is the only thing I don't like. When I play a video game, I want to immerse myself, especially in today's day and age. I want to immerse myself in a game, and I want to take myself out of the real world. I understand why they did it. I like how they did it. It was very well the way that they did it. It was a very short snippet. It's like, hey, the community loves you. This is a community that you're kind of backing because it is Miles Morales' heritage. But I didn't like how for that brief moment, I was brought back to the real world, and I said, God, that sucks, because of what happened with everything. And it really upset me because I wanted to live in the New York that didn't have that problem, that wasn't having that issue. I was living in a society that I don't have to worry about that stuff. That was the only negative drawback, is when a game takes me out of the game that I'm playing in. Because if I'm playing Fallout 4, I want to be immersed in a post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland, and I want to feel like I'm in the Boston Commonwealth, and that's, again, something that I don't like, is when I'm taken out of it. But the suit that you get is pretty fucking awesome itself. The puzzles, I'm not a very good puzzle guy. And so when I found out that you had to do some little puzzles, like here, I would have I was looking for an entrance. I must have circled it 2 or 3 times. And even then Spidey's like, oh, hey, we had to crawl into a cave. And I even missed that entrance about 2 or 3 times. And so the puzzles are pretty interesting. They're really interesting. They're really, really cool. I do also like some of the other parts of the game here, like the Venom camouflage, if you will. It adds a new little nuance to the game and a different, maybe a many different style of the play to the game. It just, in general, is really, really cool. The little add-ons that they did to the game to make the game feel like Miles Morales is more, he's coming to his own, he's becoming himself. It feels really interesting and cool how they did the game versus what you had to do with the previous Peter Parker. Um, One of the other things that I really, really liked is that, as you can see in the upper left, the Venom counter is the orange. Venom strikes take away are now just kind of attacks that you got to do instead of having to build up for finishers. The Venom strike is something that's a little bit more powerful. It helped me defeat a lot of the stronger guys easier. They didn't. So this is a complaint, but a positive. They didn't have to make Haley that attractive. It's weird because the game says you're 17, but actually, if you look in the profile, you're 18. And then I don't know. It almost feels like she's going to be your 18-year-old love interest as well too. I don't understand why they had to make her that fucking attractive, but they did. I think it's great that she's got to use American Sign Language, because she's deaf and American Sign Language. So I really hope that they maybe kind of explore her a little bit later on, because there's a cool little part where at the end she plays a kind of a pivotal role in it, if you will. And so that's pretty dope. The one thing that I will say is just the kind of one other maybe interesting or flaw thing about the game. The game's got an obsession with cats. I don't know why it's got an obsession with cats, but it does. I think I should have killed this cat, or the few times I swing around with cats in a backpack in this game, I feel like I should have killed them because of how you swing as Miles Morales. Like, I mean, I think through this whole little capade thing here that I'm going to show you, the cat should have fallen out a couple of times. But my overall thoughts on this game are kind of this, and I'll leave it with the. Since Peter is actually right on the line here, I'll leave it to you on this. Peter Parker doesn't look exactly the same, and I'll throw it up here now. The left is Peter Parker with the PS4 original version, and on the right is the new updated one. They bring back a lot of the great voice actors. Some of the audio dialogue doesn't always line up correctly. Combat, the game kind of almost makes you feel like you should know this, but you don't know this, and it kind of holds your hand with that. And it just feels like the game was kind of put together with the copy paste scenario of what you feel like it should be copy pasted on. And there's nothing wrong with that. There actually is nothing wrong with it. But was this a $60 game? No. Should you use some of your points to buy it, like, and maybe get it for $20 or $30? $30 would be pushing it a little bit. I think that you should really only spend $30 or less on this game. It feels very much like they copy pasted from the original Spider-Man PS4 game and then just kind of tweaked a bunch of things and called it a new game. And in actuality, it doesn't feel like that. I mean, yes, the DLCs were like $30 from the original Spider-Man trilogy, and that only gave you like an extra 6 or 8 hours of gameplay, and depending upon how long it took you to do everything. But to me, it just doesn't feel like a complete game, but it feels like a very, very fun DLC that introduces you to the next game, which apparently is only going to be on PlayStation 5. So boo Sony for that. I'm giving Sony 2 thumbs down because of how scarce the PlayStation 5s are, let alone when you can try to maybe find one at, I even did just a little bit of Google research because I like to sit around and go on, the Facebook marketplace. A lot of the PlayStation 5s that I'm finding are discs are like $700-800, $200 to $300 over MSRP. And I'm sorry, but I'm not like, I shouldn't have to upgrade to a new game system to be able to play your new game. I get that the PlayStation 5 is more powerful, it can handle more things, but in my idea of the game, it kind of upsets me just slightly that I have to play the next version, albeit it's supposed to come out in 2023. So I've got plenty of time for everything to drop and for, people to get stock to get back in there. But to like it's weird that with them knowing the scalpers and they know how bad the scalping is, I feel weird because like the few MSRP PlayStation 5s that are out there and available, I'm having to travel a couple hours to go get. So Sony, you get 2 thumbs down for changing the way Peter B. Parker looked. You get 2 thumbs down for the sequel coming out there, but you get 1 thumb up. You get a B plus in my eyes for this game. So I hope you liked it. I hope you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I really hope that you enjoyed this little mini breakdown of the game, even though this is about a year and a half too late. But I'd highly encourage you to get, if you like Spider-Man, I would highly encourage you to play through the 2 series back to back, even if you could. I was able to beat this game in pretty much a weekend, so I'd say that's pretty cool. It's got some replayability as well too, so you get a B plus from me, Sony, on this one. So this has been my review for the Miles Morales DLC that I'm calling for the Spider-Man game. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys on the next episode. Thanks for stopping by, and have a good one.